Good morning, everyone. Can I just make sure that you can hear me okay?
Morning, Luca. Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Okay.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Stan. I'm just waiting for Duncan to join the meeting as well. So otherwise, I have to multitask doing everything myself, but I'll do that for now. And in a moment, we'll start.
We think you're capable.
Yes, I am capable. I get distracted easily. I'm already a creator, so my attention span is about 5 seconds. So as you can imagine, so it's normally better if somebody else does it. But it's fine. We're having fun anyway. So I mean, big week in crypto, as you've all seen. A big jump in the price of Bitcoin, but also there are many news as well that we need to concentrate on, because as I've told you before, we were discussing it last week and the week before, as the number of Bitcoins and Ethereum in circulation is very limited. Okay. So in a way, prices are at the moment, especially prices of Bitcoin, are dominated by futures and derivatives action, and that is what happened this week. There was a big date at the end of last week, at the end of last Friday in the futures. There was an futures expiry, and then after that, the markets have taken their course. So at the moment, although the prices have gone up very much, there is still good news from the point of view of activity, on-chain activity on Bitcoin, because we still see Bitcoins being removed from exchanges and put into kind of offline storage. And we still see an increase of accounts that hold a lot of Bitcoins. So that means that we call that the Bitcoin whales are not selling at these levels yet, are still accumulating. So it is kind of like a reassuring a little bit, because when we see coins coming onto the exchanges, is because they want to trade those coins. And when they're taken away, is in a way a little bit of it's kind of like an information that gives you to saying that people are not really trying to sell those coins, but they want to keep them long term, so they remove them from exchanges and they put them in secure storage. Okay, let me share my screen so we can go into some of the news items I wanted to share with you this morning. Share, please. Okay, let me start. Let me start from something coming from India. Okay, so as I said, I was talking to you before about elections and one of the things that could be done on the blockchain. So this is the way that things happen quite rapidly as well in this field. We're going from a dream, somebody dream of an idea, then planning for it, then testing it, and then executing it. So we're now at that stage where there are kind of like states. I mean, this is not a nation state, but it is a state in India, is now testing online voting on the blockchain. Okay, and this is something that could come soon to a place near you, where there is a it could be this technology could be applied very securely to your local council election, to national elections in some smaller states and so on. Okay, so this is the first official testing of this technology, in a relevant jurisdiction. Okay, and I've been talking to you before about decentralized identities, the way they can be used. So this state is testing kind of like mobile voting in a way that is secure and that they'll be able to verify through the mobile the identity of the person that casting the vote. So this means a lot, especially when you are talking about some places that are maybe rural states where it's difficult even to get people to go from where they live to a voting station. And kind of like postal votes are not really a thing in many places. So this is a potential of kind of like improving access to democracy. Okay, and we're not talking just about money in crypto. It's a little bit deeper than this technology, and we are talking about how we can affect everyday things that we do. And access to democracy is a big thing, especially because democracy as a concept is still very young in many places in the world. Okay, we've been obviously used to it for centuries, but places are still maybe a few years old or a few decades old. So they're still working through the systems that they need to to make it accessible to everybody. Okay, this is really an improvement on many ways for a lot of countries across the world that could easily adopt this technology with little cost of adoption, but big improvement in services that are made possible for their citizens. Okay, so keep an eye on that because this is very, very important. Going to next. One thing that we've been talking about is a Bitcoin ETF. Okay, we've been telling you this year. The moment that this happens, there's going to be a big jump in the capitals they are invested in Bitcoins. Okay, now this is not a Bitcoin ETF, but it is almost like, I would say, the next best thing almost, which is SEC has approved an ETF that's providing exposure to companies that are Bitcoin centric. So companies either they are, for example, are the Bitcoin miners, or companies like MicroStrategy or Tesla that have got Bitcoins in their treasury, and so on. So you'll be able now completely legally to invest in this ETF from your, for example, from your pension account, or for investment companies and pension companies, pension investment funds that can legally invest now in an ETF that gives them some exposure to cryptocurrency, and in particular in this case in Bitcoin. Okay, now this month there are 3 votes. The SEC has to either approve or deny filings to create Bitcoin's ETFs. Okay, the ETF can the SEC can postpone voting on certain things, but only for about 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, they have to give a response, either yes or no to the approval of these exchange traded funds. Now, although up to now the SEC has always denied these exchange traded funds, there are now about 30 of these in the pipeline, waiting for the decision of the SEC. And what we've seen, although the first ETFs have been denied all the time, now we're seeing slowly the building blocks being put in place to allow this to become a reality. So first of all, there had to be an index that could report the prices of cryptocurrency in a reliable manner. Now that index is in place. I know that they've been waiting on this decision, because it's almost like, in a way, when they approve the first ETF, would be legitimizing a whole industry and would be kind of like opening the floodgates to invest in cryptocurrency. So they've been very reluctant to do that. But I think kind of like now their hands slowly is being forced. The big question now that is left is what kind of ETF will be approved, because it could be a spot ETF. So the funds would actually hold Bitcoin themselves, or it could be a future-based ETF, where the fund would hold some future positions in Bitcoin, but not Bitcoin itself. Okay, so it's almost like a synthetic fund that would not, invest directly in Bitcoin, but would buy and sell future positions in Bitcoin. Okay, next step is talk about the Ukrainian president, the sixth revision of cryptocurrency bill. As we discussed, I think it was last week, we're saying that Ukraine Parliament has passed in both chambers a cryptocurrency bill to make a legal framework for cryptocurrency in Ukraine. Now it's been sent back with some discussion on who should be in charge of cryptocurrency regulation in Ukraine, and there is some discussion between the parliament and the president, like a diversion on who should be in charge of this. But this it's just a discussion on the whether the Ministry for Digital Transformation or the National Security and Stock Market Commission would supervise the digital assets. The president favors this option, when instead the parliament have put like 3 different steps, like the Ministry of Digital Transformation, the National Security and Stock Market Commission, and the National Bank of Ukraine, that would be responsible for the central bank digital currency. Okay, so it will go back. It will go back for signing from the president, and it will become law in the near future. Now, the one thing that also I wanted to bring to your attention is this will make Ukraine the 5th country to approve a legal framework. I thought there was a list, following Germany, Luxembourg, Singapore, and Japan. Okay, so in these countries, they're already, cryptocurrency are legally recognized. Okay, obviously they are not legal tender like in El Salvador, but they are legally recognized. So that means that there is a framework for contracts and for dealing with disputes that can then be taken to use through the court system and so on. Okay, so slowly we are, I would say, we are gaining acceptance across the world in different countries, and this number is only growing every week. Okay, the other thing I was talking about, Bitcoin decoupling. Decoupling from what? We're talking about really decoupling from stock market indexes. Okay, and like in the past, excuse me. In the recent future, kind of like Bitcoin has followed more or less closely, the S&P 500 index and its corrections. We see now a decoupling. As you can see, I know it's a bit small, this chart, but you can see now the big increase in price that we've had recently, and so we can see obviously this is not mirrored in the stock market, that and gold have actually gone down in the same time frame. So this is why it is worth noting, because it's kind of like this step now that it's happening at the moment in Bitcoin and generally in cryptocurrency more widely, is something that is not replicated in other asset classes. So it is worth of notice. And the similar bit of news is this one. Now, JP Morgan, which obviously is very big in institutional investing, is now reporting that many institutions are preferred buying Bitcoin rather than gold as an inflation hedge. Okay, so it's kind of like quite big news as well, because we've been talking about Bitcoin as digital gold, but as a concept, but this is actually the concept becoming reality. Okay, so and we've seen this in the recent past. Everybody's kind of like find it difficult to put their head around how can Bitcoin be a store of value if the price fluctuates this much. But if you zoom out a little bit, and you see the increase in Bitcoin year after year, and you compare it with the gold price during the same time frame, then it's immediately evident that Bitcoin offer a much better proposition for storing your value as a hedge against inflation than gold. And I don't think that gold price as well is highly reliant on futures activity, and is more and more being traded as a synthetic asset, which makes its price liable to manipulation without having without really reflecting its spot activity, the people that are buying and trading gold as a physical asset. And this is not quite it's not showing in the price action. And if there was, if you are to insist for physical delivery of futures, gold futures, then the price of gold as well will look very different from where it is today. But it is very significant to see that it is easier when you think about it. Especially for institutional investing, and when you are investing not just like a few $1,000s here and there, but you invest in billions, the ease of dealing with Bitcoin and going in and out of the market is really it's really difficult to compare to anything else. Okay. Now another bit of information as well worth noticing is this one. The MoneyGram now is partnered with Stellar, that many of you may know as the ticker is XLM, for cross-border transactions. So that they've been able to use the Stellar network. They've been able to do using the USDC stablecoin to settle transactions across borders, and making the cost of transacting across borders pretty much almost like negligible compared to the banking infrastructure. And MoneyGram obviously is a big player in sending money abroad, cross-border transactions. So this is a very significant development for adoption against all the blockchain to do kind of like everyday transactions. So we see like traditional networks trying to use this technology to offer better products to their users. Okay, and this is a big example of that. And the last thing always that I wanted to mention to you, although I don't have something to show you, I'll just stop this sharing. I'll just tell you. Okay, another thing that I wanted to mention is obviously we talked about El Salvador before, but the one bit of news that is very noticeable is that we're about 3 weeks into the El Salvador adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender, and there have been about 200 Bitcoin ATM machines that have been enabled, and they are active in El Salvador. And now, after only 3 weeks, there are more people having active Bitcoin wallets than there are people having a bank account. So just get your head around it, because this is something that even months ago would have been unthinkable. El Salvador is a country where 70% of the population doesn't have a bank account. Okay, and they've been able to change this statistic in 3 weeks. And this is kind of like almost like mind-blowing to understanding what the power of this technology is, and how easy and how little cost there is in deploying this technology can make a difference on the people on the ground floor. There are maybe a street vendor selling food on the beach or on the roadside, and they can now take payments in Bitcoin. It doesn't really make any difference to them, because they can receive Bitcoin in payment, so they can elect to receive US dollars instead. So it doesn't really make any difference to them. The only difference is that they can now store this value on their phone rather than having to have cash in their pocket and they can easily, move between cash and Bitcoin with these Bitcoin ATM machines. So the only difference it has made has been kind of like an extra option for the buyer, because the buyer now can elect to pay in dollars or can elect to pay in Bitcoin, but it doesn't really make any difference to the vendor itself. But for a country, obviously they've helped spread the adoption by giving everybody who would download a government-based Kivo wallet, which is a Bitcoin wallet, a $30 donation. So there has been that incentive to have a Bitcoin wallet. But now that means that all the people they have this Bitcoin wallet, all of a sudden, where before maybe they didn't have a bank account, now they have access to financial services. So they could save and get for example, an interest rate of their savings. They are comparable to the interest rates that we have in the West, accessing through the financial service. Even better, actually, because obviously, as you know, in crypto there is better returns for your stable coins that than you can get from the banking sector. And also they have access to insurance as well. And insurance in a developing economy it's key in some cases to decide if you can feed your family or not. Because if you are agricultural community, and so if you are crops and there is something big, a climate event that makes your crops fail for that year, then what do you feed your family? If you have a crop failure insurance, that would kick in that case, and then you'll be refunded for the damage that you suffered. So this has been done record speed, and not even a month after it was launched now, it has enabled a large part of the population now to access the financial services. So it's by no means a large feat, and something that is, I think, beyond the expectations of many people. And what really means, I know El Salvador is a small country, is pretty insignificant on the world stage in terms of GDP and in terms of global trade. But there are so many countries now, especially in developing countries, they are watching what's happening in El Salvador, and they're considering doing the same thing. So whether one El Salvador has no impact on the world stage, what about 50 El Salvadors? If 50 countries, 20, 30, 40, 50 countries went the same way and adopted, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency as legal tender, that would then create a critical mass, and would be impossible to then, deny or stop this from, other bigger economies like the US, the EU, or other big industrialized countries. Because these smaller countries are seeing an alternative. What's the alternative for El Salvador? They can use Bitcoin or what? It's Bitcoin or the US dollar. So with Bitcoin, at least they know that their value is based on a set of rules. With the US dollar, their value is stored in somebody else's hands, because if the US decides to print another $2, $3, $4, $5 trillion, they don't have any control on that. And so but they have the result of the decision that are made by the US central bank, and as a result, the value that's stored in US dollars, if the US prints a lot of money, will be devalued. So it enables people to take control of their financial life as individual or as nation countries like El Salvador. And let's keep an eye on this on the next few months, because I think we'll see a wider, both from a legal point of view, we'll see countries like Ukraine, like what Germany have done, creating a legal framework for cryptocurrency, and you will see some countries, not many, but it will be like trickling at the beginning, and then it might become an avalanche later on. You'll see some countries go the same way as El Salvador. And especially if they see, if El Salvador can show provable benefits, for their country by what they're doing. Okay, so let's get ready for a few questions. Let me see. So anybody has any questions they would like to ask directly or put in the chat, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can type it, or I can type it. Okay, Eric, there was an event going on with Bitcoin in November. Would you like to elaborate on that? Oh, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my. Can you still hear me? Okay. I think I was having a little bit of problem with my headphones. Okay. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, all good now.
Sure, no problem. Okay, sorry, Eric. I'm not sure what you are talking about the event in Bitcoin. I mean, the only thing we've been kind of like waiting and talking about is being the approval of a Bitcoin ETF. And I'm talking about in the US. Okay, there are some already in Canada, some in Switzerland, and some in other countries as well. But the big market obviously is the US market. So the moment that is approved in the US, it would be a big deal. I don't know, I don't know what else you are talking about in November. If you can let me know, then we can discuss. Okay. Any other questions?
I just if now a big institution entered to the market and the Bitcoin price jumped up heavily, is it now more expensive to enter and to withdraw from the market?
Well, Bitcoin is more expensive now than it was last week, definitely. We were about 45,000 and now we're about 54. So definitely it is more expensive. It's just like demand and supply. The more people want to buy, then meet the number of sellers on the market. So if there are more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. If there are more sellers than buyers, the price goes down.
No, I mean fees. If there are more buyers and the traffic is more heavy, but at the same time, I listened to somebody who said that actually buyers' numbers is smaller, but because big institution buy in big quantity, then it is maybe hard to compete with those institutions. It is my question.
When you say hard to compete, what do you mean? You don't have to compete physically for the buying Bitcoin. I mean, you can buy Bitcoins on any exchanges. The reason is, I mean, the Bitcoin transactions are, in numbers, there's less transactions now than 2 years ago. Okay, so the transaction number on Bitcoin is low because the network is very slow. It's kind of like there aren't that many transactions, but there aren't that many Bitcoins in circulation. So it's depends on the offer and supply and demand. If the demand is there and the supply goes down, the prices go up anyway, even if the demand is the same, but the supply reduces. And this is, up to a certain point, this is what's also been happening as well, because the demand is the supply of Bitcoins is gone down because not many people prefer holding them than selling them. So, but there is increasing demand to hold Bitcoin for different reasons, and that's what's pushing the price up, between other things. But yeah, there's still a very, very high pent up demand at the moment. okay, in Bitcoin. And you know, generally, if you're looking at the past, generally in the last quarter, we've had a big increase in prices in Bitcoin. So I'm still very very bullish on the price of cryptos in you know, in this financial year, but also for the near future, because there are so many. We're coming into the real world now. So there are many use cases that are coming up every week, every month, of ways that cryptocurrency can be used to solve problems in the real world. And this is what's you know, what's making a difference as well, because it's changing the aspect of cryptocurrencies. You know, where before 2 or 3 years ago were mainly speculative assets. Now instead we are seeing more real life uses, and obviously, like, you know, for example, Ethereum has thousands of apps on it. You know, people wanting to interact with these apps, they need to spend some Ethereum. So whatever the price does, if they want to use these apps, they still will need to use some Ethereum, and so on. So the same for, you know, other blockchains. So you know, some of the things that you can do on crypto now, like gaming, for example, like decentralized finance, will require to interact with this blockchain and spend some of these cryptocurrencies. Okay, whatever the price does. Obviously, if the prices go up, there is more excitement around being in cryptocurrency, so there are more people that are wanting to do these things. But these use cases are happening anyway around us. And you know, you might have heard about, for example, games on the blockchain like Axie Infinity, like Star Atlas, for example. And to play these games, you need to have cryptocurrency. So there's no two ways about it. And people are wanting to, you know, do these things. So it's not just people sitting before, you know, behind a computer looking at charts and thinking, is the price going to go up or down? Shall I buy? Shall I sell? Or shall I hold? You know, it's kind of like changing the cryptocurrency market in a way, because it's changing it in its nature. So this is one reason why I always say, you know, be careful about using, you know, technical analysis as something to tell you when to interact with cryptocurrencies, because he has limited use in a young and changing asset as well, like this one. Okay, so concentrate more on the fundamentals than looking at price action. Alan was asking about using on-chain analysis tools and whether you use these tools. Yes, I do use them. I mean, it's not enough time now to go through these tools, but you can have a look. For example, Glassnode, probably the main tool that everybody uses. It's a paid for tool, so you will need to. There's very limited use for. They got a free version, but it's pretty useless. So you will need to, you know, pay to access that tool, and that will tells you, for example, many different metrics, you know, regarding the number of users, number of wallets, you know, number of size of wallets on the blockchain, and so on. So it is very good. It is very good to get an idea, but also, you know, one thing is that you start using these tools, there is a learning curve as well, because they're not that straightforward to use, and you will need to spend a few days, I'll say a few weeks, to really get yourself familiar with how to read these things. Otherwise, they will just go above your head. Okay, Eric was saying, when investing in cryptos for the future saving and investment, what cryptos do you suggest? Okay, we're not really talking about you know, singular cryptos and projects, Eric. Here for this room, we're talking about more on cryptocurrency in general. I do offer, I mean, if you're interested, I do offer an investment group, and you can look it up in the products in my circle if you want, where I do go through which project to invest in, but we won't do that on this in the crypto hour. Okay. On a general note, if I can suggest, I mean, if you're just new to the sector, start going down the list. Go to CoinGecko, and CoinGecko lists all the projects in order of market cap. So start going down the list. Obviously, Bitcoin is the bigger one. Today is over 1 trillion. It's gone back to over 1 trillion, and going down the list and start studying, learning about the different projects. And you can get, start maybe have a look at the top 10, the top 20, and it can give you a better idea of what's going on in the cryptocurrency industry, different type of projects, and the ones that you would like to support with your investment. Okay, and then as you become familiar with that, you can go a little bit more down the list and look at other projects. But generally, also another good way, a general way of interacting with cryptocurrency, and you can use CoinGecko for this. If you click on the coins tab, you can then have a look at categories. So you can see all the different categories in cryptos. There are many different categories. And you can see the category that interests you, because maybe the experience you have in business and in the real world, and then study the project, because if you click then on a single category, it lists you all the tokens that are relevant in that category. You can then see all the projects that interest you in that particular category. Okay, so I hope that helps at least a little bit. Okay. Any other questions? We're a little bit slow this morning coming up with questions. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come and ask. That's what I'm here for. And because I can carry on talking, for ages and going. Anyway, we'll say what is the name of the analytical tool? Is Glassnode. Glassnode. I'll type it here. Okay. But you're already part of the investment group, so normally I will do that for you. You won't need to. You can study yourself if you want, but it's all like all these things require time. So that's the problem a little bit. Kind of like time investment in crypto is quite high, because it's moving so quickly. Okay. Any other questions?
If nobody doesn't ask, I ask. I hear so much noise that I just would like to know your opinion about this noise, what is going on at the moment, that about economic crash and so on, and what your perspective is about this crypto world in context of this prediction about all sorts of crashes.
It's okay.
How they are correlated, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first of all, generally, if you look here at the traditional financial system, I mean, my opinion is that we are coming to an end of the system that you've been using for the past 50 years. And then the question is, what happens when that happens? Because the way we're seeing, I mean, you can listen. If you don't believe me, just listen to what Roger has been saying, for example. For the past 2 or 3 years, it just kind of like the problem moves from individuals, and it moves to corporations to nation states. Okay, and that's the state that we are at the moment. So what you're going to be seeing now is going to see smaller states failing, just not being able to meet their obligation. So obviously we've had cases, in the past future, we heard about Greece, and we heard about countries like Zimbabwe and things that have gone already that way, and we've been able to absorb this. But when again it starts happening to more and more countries, there is only so much that the financial system can absorb. So, and that causes a ripple effect. And then, we go through banks, and then we go from banks then to central banks, and then central banks, there's nowhere else to go really. So is where the national states will be failing. So when it fails, traditionally, we have gone back to resetting the system and going back to a gold standard. This is what happened every time in history. And if you think that the fiat financial system is new, it's not new at all. It's more than 2,000 years old. Okay, so there are cases that go back to Athens, to Greek and Roman times, and traditionally it's been kind of, history repeats itself, and it's repeated itself many times. There is a certain process that we follow, that you can go and, a very good place for that is the Secret History of Money. It's a series available on YouTube, and you can watch that, and they explain it very well, the process. So traditionally we've gone back to a gold standard, but it is thought that the gold standard is not really fit for purpose to a modern globalized economy. So we never had an alternative to that, but now there is another one. So we could potentially go back to gold standard, or we could go to a kind of like Bitcoin standard, a cryptocurrency standard, because there is that option now. It's available, and it is almost attractive for individual and for countries as well, because it's a rule-based standard. So whatever has happened in Bitcoin in the past 12 years, and there have been many crises, it hasn't really affected the protocol. So the number of Bitcoins has stayed the same, and the protocol has stayed the same, because it's based on set rules that nobody really has an incentive to change. Okay, so for me, what we're going to see in our lifetime, and I don't know about time frame for this. Okay, so I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I had one, but I think what we are seeing is it's a similar change to what went on last century, when we had the secular administration, and there was like a division between state and church. Okay, now we are going to see a split between, the rule of the state and the administration of the value. So the state is not being will not be in control of currencies in the future. This is how I see it. Okay, so we're going to have church in one place, administration of the state of another, and then we got administration of the money and currencies that is going to be community based. So this is my opinion. Okay, is that I don't know if it's kind of like a bit too far fetched for you, but this is how I'm seeing the next logical progression in the kind of failure of the financial existing financial system. Now, Pierre was saying, can you quickly explain what node trading, or company generating income from noding, entails? I am not familiar with that at all, so I will not go and try that. I mean, a node is it's in a cryptocurrency. Nodes are the ones that sustain the network. Depending on which cryptocurrency, the way that nodes work, it changes from cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency. But generally, the cryptocurrency would be based on a certain number of nodes, and sometimes, in some cases, that the nodes are completely decentralized, like in projects like Bitcoin and Ethereum. In some cases, the nodes are more centralized, like, for example, on the Binance Smart Chain. So once you have the technology to run a node, then you can also, I imagine when you say node trading, you can sell the technology itself. And I do know, for example, that there are some people that have their business in enabling people, help you to set up a node and operate it properly. And they always have. I know about node running as a service, for example. So there will be a company that set up a node on your behalf and run it for you. But I don't know exactly, about this node training in particular. Is not something that I have spent any time investigating myself. Okay. All right. So any other questions, please? Again, we still got time. It's time on hand today. And if you don't and you prefer me, I mean, I'd rather talk about things that are relevant to you rather than me talking about items of item of news that we could pick up. But if you prefer, I could talk about other things in other news, or if you want to look into charting, we can do that as well. Okay. Okay. Anybody that would like to chip in with a question, or even something that you would like to discuss, if there's no particular question, something you found out. Robin, is there a recommended platform to start on? Yeah, kind of like how long is a piece of string? Kind of question. No, it's a good question. It's a good question, Robin. The bigger, if you're going to use a centralized exchange, like most people do when they start, the biggest ones are Binance, which is the largest, and Coinbase, and Kraken, for example. There's KuCoin as well. There's very big, and there are more regulated central exchanges, and those are in particular, Coinbase, which is also quoted as a company in the US. Gemini as well is it's gone very heavily into regulation itself, so it's very well regarded and very safe. Although they have got a limited number of cryptocurrencies that you can buy and sell through them. And Kraken as well has invested some into regulation too. But in terms of number of cryptocurrencies that are supported, then you will be looking at Binance, you'll be looking at KuCoin, and really the largest number is probably on Gate.io, although it's not as well regarded as the other exchanges. Those are kind of like some of the main names that you can use to start your journey in cryptocurrencies. Now, another question from Pierre: online gaming and cryptocurrencies. I suppose this will also boost the adoption of cryptos. Yes, definitely will. And we've seen it, for example, the effect that Axie Infinity has had on Ethereum. Axie Infinity now has become the highest fee generator for Ethereum in a very short space of time, and it's grown from almost nothing to being kind of like $8 billion in value. So it's absolutely massive. On the newest gaming that's going on the blockchain, probably the biggest launch has been Star Atlas, which uses the Solana blockchain, and that probably is the first case that brings console quality gaming to blockchain gaming. And in particular, obviously, they've done it using Solana also because of the very high speed on Solana. Although Solana is very highly centralized, from the point of view of speed, it's difficult to better a centralized system. As many of you know, they uses Visa and MasterCard, so we're still trying to get to those levels of speed with the blockchain. So those are probably the two biggest games at the moment. And I think for the future of blockchain gaming, if it's something that interests you, I would look at actual gameplay. So have a look at the games, have a play around with them, and see, if you are of an age where you have teenage children, ask them to help you. Get them to play some of these games and see if they have fun playing them or not. Because if they do, those games have a future. If it's just something like, people that are jumping on the bandwagon, they've just put in something on the blockchain because they think it's going to get them visibility, then those games are probably going to disappear. In the same in the same way that many games, they are released from, for Xbox, for the Xbox, for example, or the PlayStation, don't have success, even if there is a lot of money spent in developing them. Okay, so really gameplay is the one that's going to determine, I think, success of future gaming. So yeah, spend some time on that, and I think your children will actually enjoy helping out as well. So give them some responsibility, and maybe you can give them a little of a little of crypto money to spend on some of this online gaming. They would pique their interest, actually. I found, for those of you they have got like older children, I find that my son's interest in crypto became a lot more focused once I started paying his allowance in crypto rather than in cash. And so he had to very, very quickly learn how to use it. Very quickly. It didn't take it very long at all. Okay, other questions. Say Stan is taking about any news about Cardano and Avalanche. On Avalanche, there are a lot of news on Avalanche, simply because there has been an investment in the DeFi sector to increase the amount of liquidity on Avalanche. So it's something that a lot of people are putting money on because it's incentivized at the moment. Okay, and so that's why it's growing in use. But it is one of those blockchains that have been doing very well, and they are part of the same narrative that we've had at the beginning of the year. And all these blockchains are getting more used, and they're getting more time in the sunshine because of the problems of Ethereum. Okay, so you better not forget this, because one thing is things that you invest now for the next 2 or 3 months, and one thing is the thing that you're investing for the next 2 or 3 years and longer. Okay, because both Binance Smart Chain, Solana, Avalanche, Phantom, a lot of these other solutions, Polygon, a lot of these solutions have been gaining customers and use cases. They're taking some market share out of Ethereum because of the Ethereum fees are so high. So, but if you ask people where would they prefer to be? Would they rather be on Ethereum, or would they rather be on Solana or Avalanche? The answer is always on Ethereum, because that's where the more use cases are. So, will things change once Ethereum releases the proof of stake system, Ethereum 2.0, and once the scaling solutions on Ethereum gain more traction? So this is the question to ask, because now that it would have been very good to be on Solana when it was below $1, and now is 150 or so. It would have been good to be on Avalanche again when it was at the same level. Yes, of course. At the moment, at these levels, you got to think of yourself and thinking, okay, how likely it is that Solana or Avalanche or any other project that are basically where their narrative is cheaper and faster, how likely it is that they're going to go times 3, times 4, times 5 when Ethereum starts pushing again, because the transactions have become cheaper, because there are other options now that you can use. You can have side chains, you can have roll-ups, optimistic roll-up, zero knowledge roll-ups. when these are starting to be used, so will people still use Polygon and still use, Avalanche and Solana, or will we see some of this traffic going back to Ethereum? Okay, that's a very big question to answer, and it's not an easy answer either. Okay, as regards to Cardano, instead, Cardano is kind of like a different discussion to have altogether, because the smart contracts on Cardano are an improvement in standards for the whole cryptocurrency industry. So, the question then is, you are releasing a new project. Would you rather release your project on Ethereum using the Ethereum smart contract and the Solidity programming language, or would you rather release your project on Cardano using, Cardano smart contracts and Bluetooth programming language? Now, the answer is that the smart contracts and the programming language of Cardano are marked improvement in the technology that's connected with this. And what we see already is that there are projects now, they are planning to move from Ethereum to Cardano because of this. The first one that you all will have heard from is Singularity Net. There are actually they're going to become a multi-chain blockchain. So they're going to have the tokens available both on Cardano and on Ethereum, with a bridge that allows you to move from one to the other. But what they already said is that because of the things that the Bluetooth programming language allows them to do in the artificial intelligence field, this is where they operate, they are going to move most of their activity on Cardano. Okay, but with the option for people to use, other chain, but they already mentioned, they said that they will be moving most of their activity on Cardano because, the Bluetooth programming language is very much superior to Solidity, and it allows them to do things in a much safer way. And the other big thing for the Cardano blockchain, again, that will be a great improvement on Ethereum, is a decentralized finance space. Because again, decentralized finance on Cardano is going to be a lot safer. You'll be able to very often, not everything, but most things you'll be able to do from your wallet. So you have the safety, for example, of keeping the coins safe in your wallet. You don't have to deposit them in a smart contract like you do on Ethereum if you want to do DeFi. So you have the safety, but you also have the returns of decentralized finance. So it is kind of like a game changer from that point of view. So it's not just about, faster and cheaper, but there is a reason behind it for using Cardano instead of Ethereum. Okay. And as for news on Cardano, is kind of like, again, it's a vastly moving world, and if any of you are interested, I encourage you to take part in the community itself. So you can start doing it by you can Google Catalyst, which is the community project where all the proposals are being put through. They're looking for funding, and then the community votes for who receives those funds. Which projects are going to bring more utility to the blockchain, and it could be a technical project, or it could be a completely non-technical, something like a charity project, for example. The community has complete control over that, and it decides which projects get funded and which ones don't. Okay, and it's very good to interact as well with the community, because it's another purpose-driven community, and I know that many of you obviously have got experience of Roger Hamilton's community, and this is one of the reasons why you're attracted to it. And this is another place where community like that meets, and also where many developers as well are, because they can bring these projects to reality quickly. So there are many good projects, and it's really interesting to see what's the proposals that are being put through for funding. The most recent announcements in Cardano was the partnership with Dish, which, for if there are any of you from the US, will know there's a company that deals with satellite dishes in the US, and also they acquired a cell phone company called Boost, and Cardano will Cardano IOHK, which is the company founded by Charles Hoskinson, that founded them, created Cardano, is going to install the identity solution that's called Atala Prism on 8 million cell phones. And this is massive, because again, it sounds like far-fetched, but what, for example, that will allow you to do, it kind of like it will allow you to forget completely using usernames and passwords to access things, because you'll be able to use your phone to just prove who you are and safely access websites and service providers, and even more, it allows you to keep control of your data and then only share it in a limited way with people that need access to that data, but in a limited fashion, where you keep control of who you share it with, what kind of access they have to your data, and you can limit this very, very precisely in a way that it's impossible to do right now. So that was the biggest announcement. The other thing they also announced is that they are they are doing a round of countries in Africa, because they've been working in Africa with nation states for many years now. And like the thing that they launched in Ethiopia, they've already been talking to the Ethiopian government for years, and it's been launched in 2021, but they've been discussing since 2017. And there's many discussions that are in a very advanced stage with many different countries. And there's going to be this month they are going to be in Africa talking to many heads of states about bringing different aspects of the blockchain into their administration. So on another level, they are also progressing with the if you followed what World Mobile has done, they already, World Mobile now is already active in Tanzania, but they having talks with other countries in Africa to offer their services in their countries as well. So a lot of activity as well will be around World Mobile. There is another one of the the building blocks. So we're talking about, if you think about it, what that can bring to a developing economy, where you can have people that at the moment have trouble even proving who they are. So you can, the moment that you'll be able to have, your identity, you can connect to the internet, you can then have maybe property rights on your phone, you can have access to financial system through your phone. It's kind of like a life-changing for many new communities in Africa. So and we'll see, although already the project with South Africa has brought 5 million students on the blockchain, with the potential of then by next year to then be, they got an option to kind of make the scope of the project bigger and to develop to about 20 million users rather than 5 million. The same thing can be applied to many of the different nation states. And if you think about up to now, we only got about 200 million people worldwide in blockchain. The next 100 million could come from Africa very easily and very quickly. So this is how big this is, and how much of a game changer it is for some developing countries. And as we've seen from, we're talking about earlier on with what difference he has made in El Salvador. So that's just one example, or just one area of application of blockchain to a developing country. Okay, just the money aspect of it, but there are many more aspects that can be, like for example, medical records. Just to give you another example, that can be easily applied to the blockchain. It would improve the existing systems. Okay, other questions? Let's have a look. Eric saying, I found it very difficult to put fiat money on Binance or Coinbase. Okay. Binance, there are two different cases. Coinbase, it really depends on where you are in the world, but it shouldn't be difficult. Normally, it's fairly easy to put money on Coinbase, although it's not, I find that Coinbase is not the cheapest exchange to be on, because they're kind of like a higher transaction than other, like Binance or other places. With Binance, there has been a kind of a lot of FUD being promoted by some countries, and not least of which the UK, and a lot of financial institutions have jumped on that, trying to basically ban payment to Binance. But funnily enough, they're very happy to accept if you want to withdraw money from Binance and put it on their system. So it will stop you from paying money into Binance, but they will accept money from Binance. And the effect on that has been that it's Binance access to some of the banking systems, like the system that I use for clearing, like the SEPA system in the European Union, for example, has been suspended. So you cannot use a banking wire to put money on the Binance account, but you can only do it by card, and they charge a 1.8% interest, for example, on that. But there is an option to that. If you really want to use Binance, is that to use another exchange, like for example, Kraken don't have any, in the UK at least, don't have any problem putting money on my Kraken account from any account. I can then transfer cryptos from Kraken to Binance because there is no restriction on the movement of cryptos. So you can do it that way if you want. Now, the other question was from again, what about China impact on the crypto market? Okay, China impact can be very big or very small, depending on how you look at it. Very big from the sense that China is a pioneer in the use of blockchain technology. But at the same time, as many administration they're not happy to release power to their citizens. They want to keep control of it. So they have, on one side, they have banned, cryptocurrencies and people that do mining in cryptocurrency. And even now, it looks like interacting with the cryptocurrency exchanges is illegal in China. But at the same time, the public blockchains are being pushed. Like they already have a CBDC in China with the digital yuan. And also, they have many cryptocurrency projects that they are pushing that in a central way. So the good thing about it, what 2021 has told us, is that not one country can have control of the blockchain industry. I mean, China was controlling about 50% of the Bitcoin mining power. Okay, what happened when they banned cryptocurrency mining? Just overnight, the mining power went abroad and redistributed across the world. Yes, it was the what is called the hash rate, so the power of computers that support the network, let's say the Bitcoin network, went down on a short-term basis, but now it's back to what it was before the China ban. So this is the same thing that would happen if the US was to ban, for example, Bitcoin mining. Yeah, for 2 or 3 months, the mining power will go down, and then the mining rigs and all the equipment will be redistributed in other countries across the world. They would very gladly take the business. Thank you very much. And things will carry on because this is a distributed system. You can't stop it. Somebody talks about the kind of like the smart cow. It's the smart cow example. If you are in a field, and how are you going to lose your herd of cows? It's not because all the cows are going to do something at the same time together. They're going to agree something, but just a smart cow that works out how to open the gate, and then all the cows can get out because now the gate has been opened. So that's the thing. Once you have a kind of smart cow in the system, you know. So like somebody that can see that this system can benefit their community, you can't really stop it, because this system is spread out across the world, and there are too many communities benefiting from it. So it has been, in a way, very good news that China has banned cryptocurrencies, because it has demonstrated how it is difficult to stop this technology. Okay, so it's about 9:10, so soon we're going to close this room, but I'm happy to take another couple of questions if there are. If you've got something, a burning issue that you would like me to cover. Otherwise, we'll stop here and chat to you again next week. For those of you that take part in my investment group, obviously I'll see you all on Monday evening as usual, and we talk about some other things on Monday. Jaya says, is this Chinese mining move to Texas? Yes, a lot of Texas has been been a place that's been very welcoming to the crypto industry. And when you think about Texas, we are talking, if there wasn't a US, but you are talking about a states as a separate economy, Texas will be one of the G10 in the world. Okay, so it will be one of the top 10 countries in the world. So it's a big economy. It's a very big economy, and we had a lot of the crypto mining operations relocating to Texas, and other places as well in the US. They are more friendly to crypto, like Wyoming, for example, is very crypto friendly. But Texas, obviously, it's a big country. They got lots of space, a big state. They got lots of space as well, and so it's been cheap as well for the mining operation to move to Texas. Okay, so let's I've got room for one more question. 2 minutes left, and then I really need to go because I have a meeting in about 10 minutes. Any last question?
If nobody asks, I asked just what your view of electronic safety in context of crash of Facebook.
It's something that is actually focused somebody's mind, understanding that their data is not their own. You got stuff on Facebook, and all the data on Facebook, including your pictures of your children or anything else is on there, is the property of Facebook. Something happens to Facebook, you lose all of that. And I say that's why sometimes we bang on about blockchain, and the difference of having data on the blockchain is that you have control of that data. And there are some social networks that are trying to gain traction as well on the blockchain, and that's the big difference. That's your data, and you have control of it. You decide what happens to it. Not Facebook, not Google, not anybody else. Google uses, by the way, the information. If you use Gmail, all the information in your emails as well is used by Google. To develop their algorithms. Just so that you know. To understand what you talk about, they got bots that examine language, so they know exactly what your interests are, what you talk about, who you talk to, what parts of the world you interact with, and so on. This is all information that Google analyzes and sells on to people that want to buy, especially advertisers. Okay, so just remember that the value of any users on Google on average is between $200 and $250 per year. So this is what they get from your data. Okay. So I would just as a first thing, even if you don't use blockchain yet, the one thing you can do, instead of using Google Chrome, use Brave browser, and instead of at least you can get paid on the adverts that you watch. And if you watch adverts on, you can decide first of all if you want to see these adverts or not on Brave. And if you do want to watch the adverts, then at least they reward you. And if you kind of like put all those rewards together, you would realize that by the end of the year, probably you would have got paid about $100 for using something that you would use anyway for free, like Google Chrome. So that's one of the ways that just makes you realize how our information that we have been so freely sharing with everybody, with Facebook, with Google, with Amazon and so on, it is valuable. It is valuable, and we can, getting control back of this has also got a financial incentive, because we can decide if we want to keep our interaction private, or if we want to have it public, then at least we can get paid for it. We can sell our information, and we can decide who to sell it to as well. It's a big game changer. It may be not relevant to some people, but it would be relevant to others. Okay. So, okay. All right, then. So I will need to close the call now. I need to get on with my day. But I wanted to thank you all for taking part. It's been a pleasure as usual. And I look forward to seeing you again next week, and to some of you to seeing you on Monday evening. Okay. So goodbye, everyone, and